Today we are practicing our first of three methods when we are multiplying numbers, and that is called US traditional multiplication. US traditional is kind of a longer method, but it keeps everything very organized and it's very easy to find mistakes, and mistakes are very common in fifth grade when we're multiplying, so it's a good method to help you figure out what you might have done wrong. So the main purpose of US traditional multiplication is to keep everything very neat and focus on place value. So I'm going to write this problem and I'm going to focus on keeping everything very spread out and all of my place values lined up nice and neat. So this is not normally how I would write a problem, but since we are doing this, I'm going to keep everything spaced out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at the place value. I want to remember that this is my ones column, this is my tens column, and this is my hundreds column. So I need to remember that these numbers correlate with this place value as I go on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this bottom number, which is the 3 on the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply it by all three of these numbers up top. So I'm going to multiply it by 8, I'm going to multiply it by 5, and then lastly I'm going to multiply it by 2. Now the main thing you need to remember is that these numbers aren't just worth 2, 5, and 8. You have to keep in mind the place value. So my first step is 3 times 8. I know that these are both in the ones column, so I can just keep them how they are. And then over here, I'm going to write 24. Now my answer, again, is spaced out. I'm going to keep everything lined up nice and neatly. My second part, I'm doing 3 times 5. I know that this 3 is still in the ones column, but the 5 is not. The 5 is in the tens column. So I know that 5 tens would be equal to 50. Then I can solve 3 times 50. 3 times 5 is 15. I add on the 0 and I get 150. Okay? And the last part, 3 times 2 in the hundreds place. 2 100s is equal to 200. So I would do 3 times 200. And that would be 600. Now, when I scoot over to my next part, the 4, I'm going to do the same thing. I need to multiply the 4 times the 8, the 4 times the 5, and then the 4 times the 2. Now, what's going to confuse a lot of people if they're not paying close attention is this 4 does not start off as 4. It is in the tens place, which means it is worth 40. So right off the bat, I am doing 40 times 8, which is 320. I am doing 40 times 50, which is 2,000. And I'm doing 40 times 200, which is 8,000. Once I have all my parts done, I simply have to add them up. So 4, 9, 10, carry the 1, and 11. My answer is 11,094.